What's up, y'all? Welcome to Cocina Cochina. My name is Josh. I'm coming at y'all live from the Cocina Cochina, something that we might be getting into in a couple different videos. But anyways, today I'm going to be teaching y'all how to make 3 different salsas that are good for any occasion. So as y'all probably know, salsa is a huge cornerstone in Mexican cooking. In any given Mexican dish, you're probably going to have it served with some sort of salsa, and a good salsa can really change the game when it comes to your food, your meal, whatever you got going on. Salsa really is something that's used for every occasion, whether it be, a carne asada with your homies, or, just something that you eat with chips and salsa, botaneando, chilling, drinking, or even for the next morning, with the cruda, some breakfast, salsa with your eggs, salsa with your tacos, anything like that. It's a very versatile condiment. So, without further ado, let's get into it. This is 3 good salsas for any occasion. It goes a little something like this. We're going to start with a Salsa Verde here. It's a Serrano based creamy green salsa. So we're going to do a handful of serranos, 2 jalapenos, a half an onion peeled. We're going to put about a handful of cilantro in there, 1 head of garlic completely peeled, and 1 cup of toasted sesame oil. Now, if you can't find toasted sesame oil in the store, you can really use any kind of oil, vegetable oil, canola oil, peanut oil. I just wouldn't recommend using olive oil. It has a pretty strong flavor, but I'm using the toasted sesame oil here because it gives it a good nutty flavor to the salsa and gives it a nice creamy consistency. So I'm gonna start off on medium heat in my trusty cast iron skillet. I'm gonna drop that 1 cup of oil in there. Kind of give it a couple minutes to get nice and hot, not too hot. And then you want to toss in your garlic in there. Make sure it's peeled garlic so you can get those natural oils out of it. Start tossing your onion in there. Try to break it up as much as you can just so you get an even cooking of all your onions. You don't want any chunks that are kind of raw or cooked less than the others. If you have to break it up with the tongs, you can do that. It's something that you can do, to make it a little easier to break up. But yeah, just kind of get them good and mixed up. Once you get a nice boil in the oil, you want to kind of check to see. Here I'm using the tongs to see if the garlic was cooked well enough. It wasn't yet, but now that it is here, you're gonna end up pulling all these onions and garlic out. You want a little bit of color on them. You don't want too much, because your garlic can get bitter if it's overcooked. So you want to make sure those all come out. Once you get all the garlic and onion out, you want to start putting your jalapenos and serranos in. You can toss them all in at the same time. They're cooked kind of the same rate. Once you start seeing some color, you want to move them around, flip them. You don't want to let them stay on one side too long, or you're going to end up, burning them, and you don't want to make your salsa, too bitter or anything like that. Try to get them flipped the best you can. Move them around. Get a nice even cooking on all of them, not too burned on one side or the other. Something about you that's toasting in the oil just brings that good memory. Anyways, you want to keep moving these around and make sure that you're getting an even coat of toasting on all of them. You're hitting all the sides with it. Once you get some good color, you want to start pulling them out. Usually in this situation, the serranos are done first just because they're skinnier, smaller. So you want to put them in your container to the side. I'm using this nice barro that my mom had. Anyway, so you want to put these out. Some of these are going to take a little longer. I got a little more color on these jalapenos just because they're thicker and they take, a little longer. So got that going. Once you pull them all out, you want to set up your blender. Like I said earlier, this is an oil-based salsa, so you're not going to have any tomatoes or tomatillos in here. You're going to want to go ahead and toss in your chiles. Make sure you get them all in there, no matter what order. Then you toss in your cebolla y ajo. Get them all in there. Don't be afraid to get the oil in there. Like I said, you're gonna end up putting this oil back in there. I'm gonna put a handful of cilantro in there just to kind of balance out the oil and the cooked, fried portion of it. It kind of offsets it with a fresher kind of essence. You're gonna salt to taste. I put approximately a tablespoon of salt in there. You could do less, you could do more. It's up to you. You can taste it after. You can always add more salt. Put cracked pepper in there. Then you're gonna go ahead and put your 1 cup or whatever's left of your toasted sesame oil. Notice how the sesame oil is a little darker than other oils. You're gonna know this vegetable oil is a little more yellow. You know, olive oil is gonna have that dark yellow color to it. That's just from the toastedness of it. Go ahead and blend it. Now this blender is kind of trash, so I had to mess with it a little bit, trying to get the salsa well blended. I had to end up opening it back up and pushing the cilantro farther down. That ended up working for the most part. You know, getting my salsa nice and well blended. You want to get a good mix, but not over mix, since this is an oil-based salsa and you might get some separation. But look at that. Creamy green salsa. All that's left is some chips. You know, you might want to get some oh, look at that, chips. Perfect for the salsa, man. Easy, simple, creamy green salsa. Let's get to work on this next one. For this one is going to be a handful of chile de arbol, a quarter onion, about 4 or 5 cloves of garlic, nice and peeled, 4 or 5 tomatillos, and 1 handful of cilantro. That's what this all looks like. Yeah, I like these little cutting board shots, you know, it's a nice little, nice little shot. So for this one, I go back to my trusty cast iron. I'm gonna put about 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons of regular cooking oil. In this situation, I'm using vegetable oil. Same thing, medium heat, because chile ancho does tend to kind of burn a little bit since it is dry. It starts off dry. So you're gonna want to toss your handful in there. With this salsa, you really want to make sure you're moving around your chiles. Don't let them sit in one place for too long, especially if your oil is already, at full temperature. Don't let it sit. You want to keep constantly moving it, making sure you're getting a good range of toasting on all of those chiles. No chile left behind, you gotta toast them all. And once you start getting some good color, you go from that vibrant red to the sort of darkish crimson on it. That's when you know you're getting close. So I'm gonna give it a little longer, but still constantly move it. Don't stop moving it. Once you get that good color, you take them out. It's a little hard to take them out with these tongs, so bear with me. Once those come out, you want to place your tomatillos in there. I ended up going with 5 tomatillos this time. I usually only do 4 larger ones, but we had 2 little ones, so I went with 2 little ones, 3 larger ones for 5. Same thing with the chile ancho. You just want to get a color change on there. You don't want to cook them all the way through. And especially with tomatillo, once they're cooked all the way through, they tend to change flavor a little bit, have somewhat of a bitter flavor, which you don't really want. Once it's looking like you got some good color on there, you might as well just start pulling them out. Again, these tongs, they're playing tricks on me, man. Come on. You got it. Look, oh man, can you flip it? After this, you're ready to blend. You want to go ahead and start putting your tomatillos in there. You're going to start off just putting these first 2 ingredients in there and blending them just to get a nice base for the salsa. Then you add everything else in. We're doing it with this same blender, man. One day we're going to get, we're going to get our money, we're going to get us a Vitamix. But for now, we're working with this blender. I'm going to add 1/4 cup of water in there just to make sure I get a nice blend on it. Go ahead, give it a couple good pulses on there. Make sure our main ingredients are well pulsed up, nice and chopped up before we keep going. Then we put in our onion. Like I said, you want to break up your onion nice and broken up. Get your garlic in there, a little blend, put your cilantro in there. That's how you finish off the salsa. This will give you those raw ingredients to give it a nice array of color. The chile de arbol mixed with that tomatillo really gives this salsa really, really good color. As you see here, ignore the little bit I spilled back there, but it's got a nice burnt orange color to it from the blend of the red and the green with the chile and the tomatillo. It has some good specks of cilantro in there. Nice green, and then the white from the seeds, of course, and white from the onion. So we got a good little mix of nice salsa. Very spicy, but very, very good. For this next one, we're gonna have to fire up the grill. Now, I know a lot of you guys probably aren't gonna need a tutorial on how to light up a grill, but hey, here at Cocina Cochina, we grill friendly. We are here to show you what's good. So get it nice and wet, get your lighter fluid in there. I want to toss a little paper in there. We could do it with a match, we could do it with a fire starter, but no. We like the old-fashioned paper towel. I like the fire, so I kind of just spread that fire around pretty good. You know, always make sure to move your camera, make sure you don't burn it in the process. Almost happened there. This salsa is really simple salsa. It's just gonna have that charred flavor to it. Start off with the jalapenos and the serranos, 2 of each, 4 tomatoes, 1 whole head of garlic, a half an onion, and I have some salt here. So once you have your coals hot, you want to put your grate back on there. A lot of you may notice that I have just half of the grill set up here with my charcoal briquettes. I like to keep one side of it so you can do some off-temp cooking, you know, indirect heat cooking. It works really well with a lot of the, you know, steaks and stuff. If you ever cook a steak, it's really good to cook with indirect heat. Toss the onion on there, you know, get the grill nice and clean. You know, let everybody know you're grilling in the neighborhood. Once that onion hits the grates, you know, everybody starts smelling. It's, hey, you know, somebody cooking around here. We gotta go find out what's going on. Hey, I'm gonna go find out too. I'm gonna go get me a plate. But you start putting your ingredients in there. Tomatoes on there first, your jalapenos, or really no matter what order you put them in. You know, you get your serranos on there, your garlic, your onion. The garlic is probably the one that withstands the most heat here, just because it's fully in its shell. But you want to get them all on there, start getting some color on them. See, these tomatoes are already done. I already pulled a couple of them out just because the fire is very hot and they cooked very, very fast. With that being said, you know, this salsa is really good to cook for this kind of cookout or grills, just because you have time to get it done and get it ready before you have your heat settled to kind of put your meat on there. So it's really good to make in the situations. These are pretty much ready. These tomatoes are for sure ready. I'm pulling these out. You end up kind of getting a nice char on these things. Don't be afraid to, you know, get some color on there. You can always take it off later. That's something that you're gonna see a little bit later. Nice color on these. This chila's ready. Go ahead, pull it out. That ajo, looking like it's been through a lot, but you know, it's all in its shell, so it's real good. This onion was a little too big, so I had to go ahead and cut it. Just split it in half so you get a full cooking all the way through. As you can see, that middle part really wasn't cooked too well, so put that straight on the grill. Make sure that it gets a good, even heating and cooking. Once those are done, you can go ahead and start prepping your items. So I usually go ahead and take that outer layer of the onion. You leave that on just so you can get a little more layer of protection on there in case you go too far with it. So it's that outside layer. Go ahead and removing that. On the tomato, you go ahead and take that skin off. That skin can get a little tricky in the process of this salsa. And then you see on this one chile here, I went a little too crazy on it, you know, got a little char on it. So I got that set up and taken off. You want to go ahead and peel your garlic. This garlic looks amazing once it's, you know, nice and out of its shell. It looks real good. Ignore those flies, you know. You wouldn't be a cookout in the South if there's one of these flies going around. But you want to get that garlic nice and peeled. Once that is all settled, you want to go ahead and get ready to go in it with this. This is it right here. So this is going to be a traditional molcajete salsa. It really brings out the flavors of this charred vegetables. It really does good with it. So you want to start off with making your base paste, which is your garlic and your salt. Add as much salt as you're really going to need in the entire dish. Then you go ahead and start mashing up that garlic with the salt. Those two together makes it easy to make a nice and balanced paste that really is your base of flavor for the entire salsa. So you go ahead and get that nice and mixed up, nice and mashed. Once you do that, you want to go ahead and start putting your onions in. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the onions are really probably the hardest part of this entire process, just because they are, you know, leafy. They are a little bit more sturdy than the other parts of this salsa. I could have left it in there a little bit longer, but I think I feel like I pulled it out too early, which is why I had to kind of start beating at this point. But hey, you know, once you start getting it done, ain't nothing that, you know, once you start mashing it, ain't nothing that a molcajete can't take care of. So you just have to get into it real good. Some of those more thin and hard parts I ended up taking out, but for the most part I was able to get all this done. Once you have a nice uniform paste on it, you're ready to start adding the rest of your ingredients. So here I'm just mashing out those little last pieces of onion before I go ahead and start putting in my chiles. You want to kind of follow that process, those steps in that order. Start with the garlic, then go with the onions, and go ahead and add your chiles in here. You'll see in a little bit why I'm going to add the tomatoes at the end, and it's important that you do that way. Start mashing in these chiles. This part isn't too hard. The chiles are always going to be soft once they're cooked down. So this starts making your salsa, and you start taking form. The salsa starts looking like salsa. Get all that in there. Once you have a good mix, you want to go ahead and add your tomates in. Now, take those little pieces off that you might have left on there, the skin or the end. And like I said, always leave these for the end just because they are the juiciest. They release the most liquid out of any of these ingredients. So if you start at the beginning, you're going to have kind of a soupy mess, and you're going to lose some of the ingredients in there. Not get a good visual on them to see if you're blending them in well. I added those last little couple pieces. So this is getting nice and blended. I'm going to go ahead and add the pepper in there. I added probably about, a little under a tablespoon worth. I'm going to add a little more salt. I tasted it here and felt like I needed a little more salt. But once you get that mixed in, you are almost done. But to take this salsa to the next level, I had to go ahead and chop some cilantro. This really adds a little more body to your salsa and gives it a nice fresh flavor to contrast those cooked down and charred flavors. You want to get a fine chop on the cilantro. I think the best way to practice cutting any vegetable is to cut cilantro just because it's so delicate and fine. Once you get that chopped up, you toss that in there. Kind of go ahead and mix it in. And while I was mixing this in, I thought, man, there's something that's missing here. But I got just a thing. Got that thing, aguacate. You want to go ahead and put some of that in there. Go ahead and cut your little slices. I would recommend using, a more dull knife. I went ahead and used my chef knife for it. You might end up cutting yourself on that, but hey, if you got it like that, you got it like that. So I'm going to go ahead and get this diced up. Kind of settled. This is really going to add another dimension of body to it. If you're going to end up eating this with just some chips and salsa style, it's going to have, a little bit of chunks in there so you can go ahead and dip in and kind of catch your chip on. So once you get that in there, you go ahead and mix it up and break up the pieces. That goes and gets mixed up. And it's all coming together now. Nice Salsa Tatemada. A nice and simple salsa that you can start and finish before you get your meat on the grill. Really easy. And this is what it looks like. Now did y'all think I was just come on here and just tell y'all these sauces are good, and have y'all take my word for it? Y'all must not know how it goes down. Let me show y'all some. Man, this is where it gets good. So I'm gonna go ahead and reload my grill, put some more charcoals in it just to keep that grill going. Go ahead and move it around a little bit. That's my trusty stick. Get those nice and settled in there, nice and spread out. Put that grate back on there. And I'm gonna start off with some arrachera. So this is known to a lot of people as skirt steak. That's what they call it here in in the United States. A lot of other places they call it arrachera or really just fajita. So this is my way of cooking it. I do it just whole like that, without trimming it, without cutting it down to those skinny, smaller chunks. Salt it well. This is a meat that absorbs any kind of seasoning really well. Go ahead and put some pepper on there. I'm gonna keep it real simple with these. I'm just gonna go with salt, pepper, and garlic powder. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit it with that garlic powder. Like I said, don't be afraid to season these up. They take the seasoning very well. I'm gonna just go ahead and flip them and do the same thing on the back side, so get them seasoned nice and well, and that'll just help us get our crust on both sides and just get a really good flavor on these. So on the grill already here, I have one of my favorite appetizers, choriqueso or queso flameado, you know, whatever you call it. It's one of the best appetizers there are. When you have that flame nice and hot and, you know, blazing, you want to put that little cast iron skillet on there. You can use any kind of skillet really that has metal handles. You can toss it in there, get it nice and hot, then throw your chorizo on there. These are some random little bacon wrapped nuggets or whatever I found. Anyways, so you want to go ahead and get your chorizo cooked down nice and well to about 3/4 of the way through. After that, you're going to go ahead and add your cheese in. I'm putting queso Oaxaca in there just because it is one of the better melting cheeses that there is available, and it does really well with the chorizo. So I'm going to put that cheese in there, and I recommend putting the top back onto the grill when you have the cheese in there, just because it gives a nice circulation of heat so you can get that top melted. So that's what it looks like once the cheese is ready. I mean, look at that. Nice gooey melty cheese. You have the chorizo boiling around it. Good stuff. Now while I was at the grocery store, I found this random whole chicken, so I'm gonna just throw this on there, make it one of the dishes. You know, when you're cooking, doing a little grilling, chicken's always good, and this just looked interesting. It was a whole chicken just split open. I mean, why not, right? Now back inside, I'm gonna go ahead and try this choriqueso. Here I have some of that green salsa that I made earlier. I'm gonna go ahead and toss this into a corn tortilla. Put a little bit of that salsa on there, nice good amount. Go ahead and try it out. Look at that boy. I know he knows what's good. Look at him. Good. He put the taco back on the counter. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and throw these arracheras on there. So really, I'm gonna start with the meat side down just because it's easier to control the cooking on that side. Get that first side nice and cooked. After about maybe 4 or 5 minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and flip them. Good color on each side. Look at the crust on there, man. Just look. Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and show you. I'm gonna get a close up real quick. Hold on, I'll be right back. Now once those cook for a total of about 8 to 9 minutes, you have a nice thorough crust on each side. I'm gonna go ahead and start butchering these. So I got a nice couple slices, and look at that, a perfect medium rare. You want to cook these really like steak. Get that nice pink on the inside. Real good, real juicy cut. We'll go ahead and try that. Look, oh yeah, that man knows what he's doing. Chef's kiss, look at that. I'm gonna go ahead and try this with the salsa. So I'm putting this into a couple tacos. I'm gonna try this with that tatemada I made. Real good. We'll put some avocado in there too. Get those pieces in there. Go ahead and try it. Give me a nice little slipping out. Balance it. There you go. Get that little bite in there. Oh, another one. Oh, another one. Good stuff. So this is that chicken. I butchered it down to legs, quarters, some breasts, some thighs. I'm gonna go ahead and try this out in the taco with some of that Arbol salsa. Nice thick salsa. Go ahead and toss that on there. You see the dog licking his chops trying to get a piece. He ain't getting none. Go ahead and try this out. Now, like I said, this sauce is pretty spicy. So as soon as I took that bite, man, I felt it. Ooh, got a kick to it. But that's real good stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions on anything I should do in the future, let me know in the comments below, in the Insta comments. Thank you guys. See y'all next time.